Greetings, science fiction and fantasy enthusiasts. Do you read books? Do you watch films? Do you hate deodorant? Then welcome to our podcast. With Ryan Sean O'Reilly, David Wilkinson, and Richard Mell. You're listening to No Deodorant in Outer Space. Now, let's get started.
Strange is the night where black stars rise, and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still is lost Carcosa. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another version of No Deodorant in Outer Space. My name is Ryan Sean O'Reilly, and with me this episode is the ever-charismatic Richard Mell.
Hey, everybody.
And, as usual, broadcasting out of Carcosa, Michigan, David Wilkinson.
Hey, did you say version when you opened the show?
I did. We'll just go with that. I could say edition.
Okay.
Or
No, I just okay. I did. Hey, it's Dave.
That was me. That was me showing off my improvisation talents.
Wow. Second City, look out.
This is what happens, Dave, when I don't have it written out in front of me. I say things like version. And this episode,
Virgin or version,
whichever you prefer, when you go to sleep at night. This episode, we also...
Frankly,
let's just do it live.
In this episode, we also have a guest joining us. Returning, I should say, Michael O'Reilly.
Hey, fellas. How's it going? Good to be back.
Hey, Mike.
Mike joined us, if you'll recall, way back in the first season when we did the book and movie and 3 movie versions of I Am Legend.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a blast.
Yeah. Mike is a bit of an indie filmmaker. And Mike, just if you want to set yourself up here for the legions of new fans that are not familiar with you before they go back and listen to the old episode because they just want to hear everything you've done. Tell us a little bit of background of your interest in like science fiction, fantasy. I know last time you kind of talked that Jurassic Park was one of the things you were into. Did you see Jurassic World? What'd you think of it?
I did. Yeah, I did. Pretty dumb. Entertaining as hell. I don't know. It was fun. It was good. I mean, it made billions of dollars, so good for them for that. But, ultimately pretty dumb.
Okay.
But entertaining. I don't know.
What other
I loved it.
Science fiction or fantasy informs you just in general? Books or movies?
The King in Yellow.
Oh,
of course.
How apropos.
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose Peter Benchley, Jaws, stuff like that kind of got me onto it. But again, Michael Crichton thing is huge. But
okay. And as you say, this episode we are going to be reviewing The King in Yellow, which was written by Robert W. Chambers, and the TV series True Detective, which was on HBO, directed by Cary Fukunaga. It starred Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and we're also probably going to get into a little bit the writer of that series, who is Nick Pizzolatto, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, which is probably not because I couldn't find out on YouTube beforehand. But unless anyone has any general updates, Wilk, I don't think you have any car updates this time, do you?
Well, I just got a refund check from Nissan for $1,800 for repairs that I performed on the car that they deemed were their fault based on product recalls. So that's good. Bought some tickets to Disney World with those, and
that's a load off.
Yeah,
that's a really good. Then
it's really good.
Actually, weren't you originally told that wasn't to be the case? So it looks like things are finally going your way, Mr. Wilkinson.
Well, no, I paid $1,700 for a repair that they would not pay for, but when they did that repair, they said the last $1,800 repair should have been covered by a product recall, and so after 4 weeks of talking on the phone with customer service for Nissan, they mailed me a check today, which I not promptly, but is roughly the equivalent of 5 tickets to Disney World. So,
that should be fun for the whole family.
Okay, beer's on you tonight.
Well,
yeah,
you probably should prioritize the family first. So, as I said, I'm going to have a little kind of an announcement relating to my writing world, but I'll save that for the end, so everyone can just stay tuned on that.
Is this the big announcement?
Well, I'll do it at the end of the show. This is the big announcement.
Big surprise!
It's gonna drop a bomb.
Bombs! Drop it! Oh!
I know everyone's very excited. We missed doing our opening remarks, so let's just go around the horn real quick so I can throw those in. So I'll just say for my opening remark, I felt like this was a mastery of setting and mood, but a little aimless in navigating the swamps of weird fiction. Rick, let's go to you.
My script. I did enjoy the short stories. However, I just don't I don't prefer to read short stories. There's too much discontinuity. What the opening remarks about the story, the books, or the movie, or what?
The opening remarks we do every show to set up your comments for the show.
Okay.
Your overall thoughts that you're going to talk about.
Well, the movie, however, I was engaged for the entire 8 hours. It had me on the edge of my seat, and it was quite the opposite of the short story approach.
Okay, Mike, any quote from you?
It's exactly the same. The short stories didn't do a whole lot for me. However, the television show was fantastic. Recommend it to anybody.
Can I go?
Yeah, Will, go ahead.
Short stories, total crap. TV show, fantastic.
There we go. That's how you do it. All right,
Like
now that's
Krusty the
done.
Clown. That's how you do it.
But why don't we just get into the book, because we got a lot to cover with this miniseries. The book was written by Robert W. Chambers. Rick, give us a little background on that author.
Yeah, Robert Chambers. He wrote The King in Yellow, which is just a book of short stories and poems. It's kind of like the Solomon Kane book that we covered last year about this time. He was born in 1865, died in 1933, so I guess that made him
Old.
about 78 years old.
68,
68.
according to Wikipedia.
68.
According to
okay.
my abacus,
I am
bitches.
a professional engineer.
And he died of gastrointestinal surgery, or after
Yeah.
gastrointestinal
Probably
surgery.
ate
I think he
like too
died.
many
So that's
strumpets or something.
Oh, and one of us has irritable bowel. Is it related? Is it fate? Is it the King in Yellow forever watching us? Is it to do with bowels? The yellow bowels of heaven.
Actually, there are two O'Reillys on this show currently, so that would be two people with bowel problems.
Okay, but does your diet completely consist of ham sandwiches like Ryan O'Reilly? Because to me,
Wonder Bread?
yeah. I mean,
I've never admitted that on paper.
no, but you both eat crap. I mean, because Ryan, like, he'll complain about his irritable bowel and then eat, like, sausage. You know?
I eat quinoa and egg whites. So
I need
no.
your wheatiest beer and your meatiest meat. Because my bowels are not so sweet. Yeah, I mean, you're not like...
Oh, we're doing limericks
Eat some
tonight.
goddamn kale. I'll stop talking. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, getting back to Mr. Chambers. I think, Rick, you were telling me earlier, Chambers started off as a visual artist, and I think he had some success getting stuff published in some known magazines. I think Vogue was even one of them. But then for some reason, he decided to become a writer after that. And then, Rick, you were telling me he studied in Paris?
Yeah, he went to Paris. What did he study there? It looks like he studied something like writing.
Was he there during the French Revolution with Jules Verne?
I don't think he had a connection with Jules Verne.
They were both there.
I do
during
have
the French Revolution. Okay.
a theory that like he was influenced by a Parisian writer named Charles Baudelaire, and they share very similar styles. You know, romantic fiction. Baudelaire was a poet, and he kind of associated a lot with sort of drunken debauchery and sex, kind of like the same way Chambers did in The King in Yellow. Chambers sort of associated idle time with sort of artists with death. I think he just had a personal opinion that artists in general and people who sort of had a lot of idle time to spare and to kind of, plot their little plots, that they were damned, and he damned them in his stories. Baudelaire, he had like a similar set of characters in his poems. You know that.
No.
Go ahead. I'm kind of like reaching out on a limb, but I don't really have a whole lot on Chambers.
Well, I was just going to add that, I mean, I don't think any of us have read any other of Chambers' stuff, and he's probably best known for these weird sort of supernatural tales. However,
Right.
he went on to write extensively after this. I think he even got into historical books, but he also had a lot of success, I think, in romantic books and romantic settings. And some of his...
Do you know what romance fiction is? It's not about like love. It's more about sort of vivid imagery. That's kind of what romanticism is.
Yeah, and I think his style does kind of fit well with that. But I know one of the things I picked up on with this is that H.P. Lovecraft drew inspiration from these stories.
I'd see that, yeah.
Kind of.
Well, he was familiar with these works, and H.P. Lovecraft liked that, like Chambers alluded to some kind of supernatural things, but didn't go into a lot of description. The unknown is scarier than the known. And H.P. Lovecraft, I think, it was into like shared ideas and worlds between authors. And like I talked about Carcosa in the intro, which is a line from the book, but actually Chambers took that from someone else. I forget who that term was. It was another author that used it. But H.P. Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, I think, expressed that he was somewhat disappointed with Chambers because everyone seemed to agree that Chambers was very well written, but he just kind of fell short from just wowing you. And it's like the potential was there, but he didn't quite nail it. And so
sounds like your honeymoon.
So, and I kind of felt a little bit similar, and we can get into that later.
Yes.
But, I mean, that was one of the interesting things to know is that H.P. Lovecraft, who is very well respected and known in this weird tales kind of supernatural weird fiction area, was inspired by. So this is like a very early kind of tale or set of stories for this, and it's almost like Chambers kind of hit this sweet spot in his young, youthful writing, and then kind of didn't recapture it later on. Although he was successful, and his writing reminded me a little bit of like those old-timey radio shows, and I was telling you this, Mike, and I didn't...
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
I kind of felt that when I looked up, and they said that, and I think on Wikipedia, that one of his characters, a detective character, I think, did go on and get adapted to radio drama, and I think had a real successful run on the radio.
It was on Suspense, I believe. Right?
Well, I think maybe some of his stories...
Suspense episode?
Some of his stories might have made a Suspense, but I think he had one of his characters had like their own series.
What is Suspense?
Suspense was just an old time. It was a very, very popular old time radio program.
Guys, we're just kind of dropping that like we should know it. So
yeah, no, it was.
Well, it's very popular up at
old time radio program. It's
a popular.
Sorry.
Well, Mike and me and
popular in a little cabin up in the UP.
We'd sit around as kids eating ham sandwiches and sausages,
people get together.
listening to old time radio, just shitting our pants. Delight.
It's very big in the Hermansville area. Hermansville, Michigan area. Yeah. Very big.
Right.
When we go up to the cabin up in the woods, we typically put on old time radio, which is ironically it seems to very much irritate the older people that are part of the camp.
It drowns out the sounds of the O'Reilly irritable bowels as the old time radio stations play. You can't hear the wincing and pushing in the bathroom and outhouses.
Very artistically put.
All right. So, does anyone else have anything else to add about Chambers?
Not racist. He wins the not racist award that we cannot give to the author of Solomon Kane or the other guy, Burroughs.
One thing I'll say about the guy's writing, for being how old it is, this book came out, I think 1895 was the first edition. It's very easily read. It was probably easier than the other older stuff we read. I don't know if you guys felt that way. I mean, maybe
I didn't think it read as too like old English style. I didn't really get that. Yeah, it was pretty easy.
Wilker.
Yeah, he was kind of he never, his writing is not, it is sort of like a timeless style, can last forever. But I guess as far as his family goes, he comes from relative aristocracy. His father was one of the founders of Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, really?
His mother, she came from some kind of illustrious family. But this is just consistent with a lot of the other writers that we've covered, where they've got the means and the resources to kind of carry on with an artistic lifestyle. And it's ironic because it seems like he despises artists in his writing.
Yeah,
he kills them off, and the same thing is very consistent with a lot of the horror flicks. Some of the most liberal characters in the Jason movies, they get killed off right away. The people who are just into sex and love and just want to have fun, they get killed right away. A lot of that kind of, I'm sure, just starts from these writings. They definitely influence just sort of like the expendability of people like that.
All right, well, let's Wilk, why don't you just give a quick little summary of the book, and let's just get right into the book.
Oh,
just just set it up. I mean, I know it's a collection of short stories, but why don't you give us an overview?
I forgot that you asked me these questions. I really did. Okay, it's hard to
ahead,
summarize
just fake it.
because it is a collection of short stories with a running theme throughout them, kind of a reference to this King in Yellow, this character hidden beneath the shadows, and yada yada yada. But they're basically short horror stories that are morbid, if not supernatural, kind of almost in a dreamlike state, I would say. It didn't really it was almost like ambient reading, in my opinion. I read it pretty quickly. It was pretty casual. Nothing really kind of haunted me, though. It wasn't like an Edgar Allan Poe, or it wasn't that. I don't know. I'm not sure why we read it after I read it, to be honest. I don't know how this survived the test of time, to be honest. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't, great. So
yeah, it is like a collection of short stories, and there's a common theme, at least in some of them, but not all of them. And I think there's different editions, because I've been talking to you guys, and I think I have, like, my collection has 13 stories, but I think some other people have 9. There's different ones, and I think it's in the public domain, so that's probably why there's a lot of different editions out there. But only a few of the stories actually have this King in Yellow theme, which the King in Yellow is a play that's a play within the story, and you never know the full deal with the play. It's sort of like an early Necronomicon. It's this play that makes people crazy once they read it, and once they start reading it, they're compelled to read it. It supposedly only has 2 acts. The first act is just kind of sort of normal, but just draws you in and is real beautiful, and then the second act just makes you go crazy.
No. Can you explain what the Necronomicon is?
That's an invention of H.P. Lovecraft, I believe, and it's supposed to be the Book of the Dead, and I think you die or something if you read it. Mike, do you know any more?
I thought the Necronomicon was real. Not as we know it in the Evil Dead sense, but I think it's actually...
I don't think H.P. Lovecraft created that. I thought it was
No, I think it's
almost like an institution.
Right. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, because I know that it's cited in appearing in stories by Lovecraft and his followers. It's a fictional textbook of magic appearing stories of horror written by H.P. Lovecraft and his followers. First mentioned in his short story The Hound. So it's an invention of H.P. Lovecraft. It's so old, though, and H.P. Lovecraft is not a contemporary, that it's kind of come to our generation as like it exists, but it's a fictional book. And I think it's kind of got made really popular with like the Evil Dead movies, right, Mike? That's kind of a basis for those movies.
Right.
So the King in Yellow is almost like that, and you can see how H.P. Lovecraft would have drawn inspiration for that, because you never actually, you only get these little small bits of the King in Yellow, and these stories, they have some tie into this supernatural King in Yellow that's going to come and, I guess, cause great harm to the world. But sometimes in reading some of those stories, I felt like they just kind of threw in a random reference to the King in Yellow, and like the actual theme of this forbidden book didn't really have a lot to do with the plots. I don't know if you guys felt that way.
Yeah, I felt that way. I didn't feel you keep reading thinking they're going to reveal something about it. You don't even have to hear everything about it, but I think you feel a little cheated at the end of the stories because you still don't know anything more than you did at the first couple of pages about the King in Yellow or the book. And
I get that. I mean, having the unknown adds to the horror, but it's very unknown in these books.
So I think the King in Yellow is allegory, and it does have a concrete meaning. A king is a monarch, obviously. The color yellow represents sort of like a sickness. But this is in the late 1800s. It's not too far off from the age of monarchies, okay? And, well, I mean, to this day, we still have certain monarchies in Europe. But I'm talking more specifically about France. And Robert Chambers did go to France to study, and he was influenced by French poets. But after the Bastille was raided and they started cutting, the heads off of aristocrats, France went from being kind of like a shabbily run state. It had order to sort of like a bloodbath, and it, just went into complete chaos. And that's what freedom was after the monarchy fell. It was chaos and it was bloody. And I think a lot of parallels kind of draw into some of the characters and some of the poetry by
Chambers,
Baudelaire, and even Chambers' characters. A lot of his characters, they exercise their quote-unquote freedom. They don't have regular jobs. They're sort of floating around and sort of conjuring their own chaos, and it ends up kind of biting them in the ass eventually. And I'm going out on a limb, but I think that's what the allegory is. And the continual sort of, reference to the King in Yellow and to, it's just an ambiguous sort of symbol, basically. The yellow sign, it's not supposed to mean anything more than just a symbology of it, what it represents. And it's almost like the king is coming back to haunt you because you've created this environment around you of freedom, and look where it's gotten you.
Now, or someone wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of sounds like Chambers is a little self-loathing. If your theory is correct. Which artist, so. What kind of writer, what writer do you know that isn't self-loathing? Ryan?
Right.
One of the things that in the intro to the book that I was reading, or the version I read, it had an intro by E.F. Blyler, and he pointed out that the evil elements in this book are more metaphysical than psychological, and probably nowadays more writing is like man versus man psychological issues, whereas this, in like more like H.P. Lovecraft genre, weird there's other things out there hurting man. It's not so much man about itself. So maybe this contradicts or goes against what you're saying, Rick. But I did see that in here. I mean, you have kind of like there's like the people with weird faces, and there's the King in Yellow who might be from some other world. There's that lady that comes out along the lake. She appears and disappears, and is alluding to evil people. And in that sense, it's more like
the mere fact that you have all these women characters, and the male protagonists have a chance at these women. I mean that itself represents freedom. When they give in to the women is when all hell breaks loose, and when people just start dropping dead. Back in the day of serfdom, people didn't really have a choice with women. I mean, it was just like, there's your sister,
But these women come from otherworldly places. They're not just like women they're meeting. I mean, there's
in some cases, yeah, but in most cases they're human.
Let me ask Wilk. How did you feel about that aspect of the book, Wilk? And to me, it's like almost like an older kind of story where it's like man versus the supernatural world, or man versus the elements. Wilk, did you feel that at all, or
no? I mean, I really felt it was more like Edgar Allan Poe-esque, where it was man versus man. Even though there was some supernatural elements in here, they had us to be bordering on the insane or dreamlike. To me, it was a mortality tale in each and every story, to a certain extent, where it was a one-on-one encounter, more or less,
like a mortality.
It was not moral, but mortality. Like it, like death was imminent, on the cusp, and it was kind of a I mean. I don't know. It was very ambient. I just.
What about like those? I mean, like there's like those crab-like creatures that come out and they're all weird.
Yeah, but I just think those are all like just distracting. I don't know. It could be real, it could not be. It could be the guy's going insane. It could be he's not.
Yeah,
that's
could be somebody's imagination.
Yeah, I kind of looked at it as a I don't know.
I mean, they did do drugs throughout, like almost every story. There was drug use,
and every character seemed very self-aware. They seemed to have particular philosophies about everything, and it just kind of seemed like I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, they were free enough. They were smart enough in today's day and age to think for themselves, and look where it can get you. It can get you into madness.
Correct.
One of the strengths I felt of this writer is the writing is done well, and I felt like he was good at settings and creating moods, which is complementary to weird fiction. Like in his descriptions of the natural world, like particularly when he was going into like falconry or going into like the woods with these hunting parties, his description of the dogs and the birds, like he had it right. He was researched, and it all felt tangible and real, and I thought that was one of his strengths. I don't know what you guys felt. Like, Wilk, did you feel that was the strength of the writing, or
not really? No.
What about Rick?
Just like his description of the environment?
Yeah, like I thought he was in his descriptions of the environment and like the animals and various things that people were interacting with. It helped form a mood, which I think complemented this weird supernatural aspect, and I think that was probably the strongest parts of these books.
Yeah, I thought it had sort of like each of the main characters, there was probably like a bit of an element of paranoia. They knew too much. They kept on, referencing the fact that, they were reading this play and they knew they were damned because of it. It's sort of like the gift of knowledge is not always considered a gift. Sometimes it's a burden.
Classic horror. Let me just ask, does anyone have like a particular story, whether by name or description, that stuck out with you more than any other ones, or are they all kind of the same? Like, for me, I think The Repairer of Reputations, which was the one...
Yeah, I was going to say that.
The first story.
Where that guy is like in that upper room, and he's like all like deformed and weird, and he's got like this
Mr. Wild, yeah.
He's got these book of like all these people that he's got control of, and it's growing, and then the main character goes mad, and
but again, it's the going mad aspect. That's where I'm not sure any of this was supernatural as much as it was a person who was mentally ill or going. Didn't the guy have like some kind of head injury here too? He was hit in the head with a horse.
Yeah, he fell off his horse.
Yeah. So it's like. I don't know, and like the artist one where he thinks the guy's turned into like a coffin worm, or I feel a lot of these things are like in the eye of the beholder, and it's not a true narrative. I don't know. It's not bad. It's just, again, it's ambient. You sit down, you read it, you feel a little bit weird, you move on.
So you like so those were the stories that stuck out to you. What about Rick? Any of them that stuck out to you? Same ones, or none of them stuck out, or?
I liked some of his poems.
Okay, more than the stories?
Yeah. The poems were a little bit more to the point, and he sort of revealed more of his thoughts in these poems. He didn't really have a chance to sort of cloak his meaning. He didn't mince it at all in the poems.
Now, your edition of the book, was there like a collection of poems in the middle of the book?
Yeah, there were probably a dozen poems in the middle of the book, yeah.
Because my edition did not have that.
No, I didn't have the poems either.
Yeah.
If I did, I did not read them.
I could probably grab my book and read one to you if you guys want.
That's okay. We're pressed for time.
Yeah, why don't you do that after the podcast and we're not listening?
Yeah. Well, Mike, any stories stick out in particular to you?
I did like the one about the artist with the nude model.
Of course you did. He's a fucking sicko.
Mainly because I was just picturing the nude model.
Well, that's the one where the guy has created some kind of liquid that preserves things?
No, that's a different story.
Oh.
That was when they were looking down in the church courtyard, and they kept on seeing the church watchman, and he was sort of stalking them. And the model had dreams of the watchman, and when she looked out the window and saw the guy, she freaked out.
Yeah.
Oh, that one, okay.
He was the coffin worm.
All right, that's all I pretty much have on the book. Did anyone else have anything they want to add about the book?
Oh, my God.
Nope, I think we do a humorous segue right now into our next segment, though.
A humorous segue?
Yeah, where we, make predictions about what's going to happen in 2016, and I don't know.
National League over the American League, 3-2.
Rick loves his hockey.
All right, let's get into it's actually a mini-series, True Detective. Let's talk about the director first, and then we can get in the writer. The director is Cary Fukunaga. What can you tell us about him?
Not a hell of a whole lot. And
not surprising.
Yeah, well, no, he hasn't done a whole lot. I really, really, really enjoyed True Detective, but he doesn't have a large body of work. He doesn't have a lot of things coming up. He's from California. He's our age. He's in his late 30s.
Your age.
Your age, yeah.
I'm still 26 for a couple of years now.
He's vaguely Hispanic looking, but he has a Japanese last name. He's
Japanese and Swedish.
Swedish Japanese.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever you want to do.
But I think he speaks. He might speak Spanish and Japanese.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Okay, so you can talk about him.
Not surprising, also.
Yes. Okay. So whatever. He's made like 4 movies. They all look terrible. I'm not going to watch any of them ever.
Jane Eyre, I think, was one. Yeah.
I refuse to watch or read or even understand Jane Eyre. Period.
Sin Nombre was supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah. Sin Nombre. Is that about
call me old-fashioned or racist, but I refuse to watch movies that have Spanish words in them. Period.
Yeah, it's tough to get interested in them.
It just makes me not want to watch it. Like Y tu mama también. Yeah.
Which was
¿Qué pasa? Me no entiendo.
Right. But he's a very international director. He does movies that take place in every different country. It's like this other one, Beasts of No Nation, this new one that he has in pre-production right now. It's completely
I'm kind of interested in contemporary international pirates. Is that what this is all about? Like someone made out of money who can pretty much swoop in at any point in the globe and do what he wants to do?
What are you talking about, Rick?
I don't know. I don't know
International
how to comment
piracy?
on that, Ricky.
contemporary pirates.
That's what the new movie is about?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Okay, you're just talking about whatever you want to talk about.
No, I don't even
No,
know.
I'm asking Mike about the fucking movie.
Oh, okay.
And he's refusing to answer.
I don't know the plot of the new movie.
Yeah, sure, Mike. Sure. Quit holding back.
Not a whole lot of it.
Why hate America?
Just tell us the title. Let's move on.
This is so fucking stupid. Yeah, who gives a fuck about this guy? He's been through 3 movies. They're
He
all
actually
terrible.
actually got picked to terrible. You haven't even seen any of them. He actually got
Sin
picked.
Nombre. It's called Sin Nombre. I'm never gonna say Jane Eyre. Yeah.
No one will ever accuse you of being highbrow.
Sorry. Go on.
There you go. There you have it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mister. I poop 3 times an hour.
Okay,
That's a talent.
let's move on, Ryan.
So I saw that he was actually going to direct a new version of It by Stephen King,
Oh, did you think
and then
that?
they were cutting his budget,
What, did you
and
think
he walked away from the project.
Yeah.
You can't cut that budget.
fell through, apparently.
Did you think that, or did you read that in the last 2 days? Because
Why do you ask me that?
Because I mean, has this guy ever been on your radar for anything? We're spending more time talking about him than it's. Let's just
The cool series.
Seriously, who gives a flying fuck about this fuckhead?
The most interesting thing about him in this show is that it's a series, and he directed every episode on the first series, which doesn't happen very often. You don't
Agreed.
see that very
And
often. So that was interesting.
That was great. It's like basically an 8-hour movie, which he did a very good job of, and he had an amazing scene, a long shot scene where they're doing a drug raid. And Mike, you're a director. Did you recall that scene I'm talking about where? It looks like it's done with no cuts over almost 4 or 5
the scene
minutes.
in the projects,
Yeah.
the shootout scene in the project. Yeah, that scene. Apparently, they did that 7 times, and they did not
Really?
cut at all.
Wow.
They did it 7 times,
No-
and
Holy cow.
I think it runs about 7-8 minutes long. So they did it every time, and the director actually talked about it a little bit in some interviews. He talked about how everything had to be perfectly choreographed. Everything, they had when they would actually go through when McConaughey had the ginger character, and they were actually like running through like building after building and behind walls and behind trees and everything. There were actually makeup people that were hiding like behind wherever they were to actually touch up their makeup and whatnot during it. So I mean that's just
important.
very well choreographed.
Now, when we talked about Children of Men, which also had a famous long shot, I think we learned that Children of Men had a long shot, but it was faked a little bit. Didn't they actually piece together some pieces in Children of Men?
Yeah. Same with Birdman. Birdman looks like one continuous take, but it's not. It's actually
The entire movie?
Birdman is supposed to look like one continuous take the entire movie.
Yeah,
really?
it's supposed to have that
Yeah.
effect, which it's edited beautifully. It's edited perfectly, but it is not. I mean, they are long takes, but it's not one continuous take.
So
it's just edited well.
This
what I
one take, one shot. This one was a true one shot, like all 7 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was.
Hey,
Pretty
Mike,
cool, though.
have you ever tried what's the longest shot you've ever tried to commit to film? I mean, do you ever go for the longer shot, or what are your thoughts?
The most recent one with that we just did over this past summer, which is completed now. It's some longer takes, but nothing so complicated to where a lot of things are going on in one area where this example from True Detective it's what makes it so great is the amount of activity that's going on and the amount of people that are coming in and out of the shot, which it's just great staging. It's almost like theater that way. But I don't know. The longest thing I've done is, maybe a 1.5 minute take, which is pretty long.
That's long.
But
it's real long. I mean, you're familiar with like Roger Altman, I'm sure, right? The did MASH, The Player, those movies.
Robert Altman?
Robert Altman. God,
Not his
Roger.
cousin
Sorry,
Roger.
his cousin Roger. Good guy. No, Robert Altman. I remember watching an interview with him after The Player came out, and where he just said he wanted to do it. He felt that the long take, although it's the equivalent of a guitar solo and a rock ballad, but every director kind of wants to get that nice long show-off take in there. And the opening shot of The Player has an amazing long take as well too, which
I think what's great about those long takes is that, from my stance, you really give the actors a chance to get into their groove and just go with whatever it is happening. And that, I don't know, that's my kind of take on that. It just, you get more of an organic
And the audience doesn't get a break. They're in it.
look from it.
It's got that kind of anxiousness.
Right.
It's like it increases the suspense.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right, and actually,
Certainly
Nick, the director, Cary Fukunaga, touched on that in an interview, too. He said that as the show went on, he needed to figure out a way to keep the suspense for the characters alive, because he knew that audiences knew that these characters were alive because it was told in flashback. So they're obviously alive years ahead of time. So he said that he wanted to do this continuous long take so that he could get every ounce of suspense and action and drama, like edge of your seat kind of stuff on that as possible. So that's their reasoning for doing that, apparently.
Yeah.
That's actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, so let's talk about the show itself, or the writer, or what it has to do with the book. Ryan, I leave this in your capable hands.
How long will that last? Well, the other thing, like you said, this is one director all the way through, but it was also one writer. This was the vision of this one writer, this guy, Nick Pizzolatto, who I think he had one book, Galveston, that was published, and he wanted to get into screenwriting. I look up about him. He's an Italian Catholic, grew up in Louisiana, in this area where the show was shot. He's very familiar with this area. He went into, I think he was working at a bar for a while, back to school, got an MFA, I think in creative writing, and he worked in academia for about 4 years, got married. I think when his wife was pregnant, somewhere around that time, he got this book deal. And he said when he got the book deal, he was able to get access to an agent for his book. And when he got access to the agent, he was able to talk to the person and say, hey, I want to go into television. What do I got to do? And apparently that was a fruitful conversation. He was able to go back, write some scripts, and I think he might have wrote like 9 scripts or something. And they started shopping him around, and he was in talks with different studios. At some point, I think he wrote for the show The Killing. He said he did not like that experience. He didn't like working in a writer's room, and he kind of needed to do his own thing. And I think he left that. And he was pitching these different shows, and I think they were even talking about doing Galveston as a TV series. And I think he was always holding back True Detective. I think he wrote. I don't know much about that, except I think it's also a detective story.
In Galveston, Texas.
But
so why did you throw that out there?
What did I throw? What out there?
Galveston.
That was the name of his first book.
Okay.
So while he's doing all these script writing stuff, he's holding back on True Detective, and he finally pitches it, and I think he's got 2 or 3 scripts written on spec, and they like them. And I don't know, at some point he sells it, and he's able to work with HBO, and I think he was able to keep a lot of control. And I mean, they did give him notes and stuff, but it wasn't like the movies where often a scriptwriter will just write a script, and then once it, or someone writes a script, and then once it leaves their hands, I mean, then the director or everyone else takes over it, and it's rewritten a bunch of times, and the writer has like almost no say. And that's one of the reasons why he wanted to go into television, is so he could have more control. And it sounded like he was pretty involved, in bringing this thing to completion.
Did he ever touch on like how he was influenced by The King in Yellow while he was? There
were some interviews. I didn't have a chance to really explore those fully, but someone did. There was another writer. I forget what the other guy's.
Thomas Ligotti.
Yeah,
was like his main influence, apparently.
Yeah, they were comparing him in his dialogue to this other writer, and he did say yes, he was inspired by these different things of weird fiction, like The King in Yellow and this guy Ligotti and other people, and it kind of did inform his characters, like, I guess, sort of philosophical viewpoints. And that's one of the big things of the show that I noticed. And also the writer, I watched this like really nice hour-long interview with him on YouTube. I think it was by BAFTA. I have to look into that, but to me, this show, the strength of it is like the back and forth between the main characters. I mean, obviously Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are just really great actors, and they're veterans. And they even said, like, what's the plot of this book? Chasing a serial killer. That's nothing new. And two cops trying to work a case. There's nothing new here. But the back and forth of those characters and the differences of the characters, I mean, and their different viewpoints, and Matthew McConaughey's character is real kind of, I don't know if you call it like nihilistic kind of viewpoint.
Existential. Almost.
Yeah, it really...
It's very shamanistic.
Yeah, it does have that... This does have like sort of a supernatural feel, even though there's nothing supernatural going on, but there is little hints, almost like how The King in Yellow is, just little hints throughout of this kind of like otherworldly thing going on. Matthew,
well,
go ahead, Will.
And Oh yeah, and sorry to
go ahead.
cut you off, but to that extent, that's where the King in Yellow kind of ties in, because I think the characters on one side of the spectrum in True Detective are like the characters in the King in Yellow, where they really do believe something supernatural is going on, like the bad guys.
Yeah.
They could clearly believe that there's other forces around. They aren't, but they're just fucking nuts.
Right.
I mean, they're murdering people, but in their mind, they have rituals, they have these things, and to the viewer, to me, and to a rational person, they're just the empty refuges of a madman, like a cult or a Catholic church. I mean, they're just meaningless symbols that people put meaning onto. And but that to me is where the King of Yellow kind of ties into it, because you can read that two ways. You can be a true believer, or you can look at it as like these people are, have head injuries, they're mentally ill. And I think the antagonists, the non-metaphysical antagonists in True Detective, the human ones are not well in the head, and they think there's things there that aren't there.
What's interesting is that Matthew McConaughey's character is he's almost like a non-believer, like an unbeliever, anything like that, but yet he's such a non-believer that he is almost like spiritual in his methods and who he is. He goes to like a ritualistic kind of fanatical level in his exploration of these cases and his dedication. And yet he doesn't really believe in any of this stuff. He's so entwined in it. It really is kind of an interesting interesting to throw his character against these like antagonists.
I feel like people that are like weak-minded and religious often say that about other people to try and push their affliction on them. No, he's not like them. He's just logical. Just because you believe in some sky god doesn't mean everyone else who believes in something is insane like you. I mean, he's just a detective trying to solve a crime. He's not a religious fanatic or a crazy person. He's not drinking the flesh and blood of some Jewish carpenter that was good at magic tricks 2,000 years ago. I mean,
yeah, but he's fanatical, but he goes to this other level.
I think he just did a good job doing his job. Conversely, his counterpart, Woody Harrelson's character, he was more typical, but typical is nothing to look up to. He was just sort of a product of the system and the state, and that's what you would expect. McConaughey's character, he did what he was supposed to do. He was,
but he does more than that. He's like on a quest.
Well, he has a heavy load of empathy for the victims, and I think that's part of what drives him.
Is it? Do you think he really has a heavy load of empathy for victims, or is it just he's just more driven to this thing?
Well,
seeing it through.
You could argue that he is a bit compulsive, that he may be autistic, but who knows? I mean, look, he was the most objective detective in that show. All the other detectives were slouches.
He saved the day.
Yeah.
Yes, but he is to such a level that you, even as the audience, and the characters obviously do this, but even the audience, you start to question, could he be that guy? Could he, is it possible that this whole thing is going to just flip and he's going to turn out to be the bad guy? And that was kind of interesting how they explored that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
Well, okay.
But I just think it was a...
But, it did have the audience, go that way and maybe speculate that he was.
But Rick, Ryan, Mike, that speculation wasn't like a reveal. It wasn't like we're on the edge of our seats wondering. It's like, maybe he is, but he's not. And then they just told the story. It wasn't really like a preoccupation as Matthew McConaughey, the mastermind evil guy.
Compare him.
Well, he had a hard life. He's surrounded with a bunch of buffoons, man. Sometimes that'll make you go nuts. And it's that reason why I thought he could have been kind of behind a lot what
sold me when he comes back and says, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just like when he says, we have a debt. That line, that from that line on, which I think is the first or second episode.
That's some spiritual type stuff, man.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
It's a debt.
So what do you think he meant by that?
That goes back to like fantasy, like classic fantasy works. Like when you save someone's life or whatever, you have a debt
they knew they didn't catch the killers. They knew that by the way that they handled that initial crime scene, where they
right.
The people were still out there. He said, the debt they had is they're going to get out there, and they need to catch the guys they didn't catch the first time. And that to me, I like that. I can respect that. It was a...
Right.
Milk, let me ask you...
Sorry. Wanted to serve justice.
Let me ask you this. You're familiar with The Untouchables?
I am.
The show, the
Elliot
TV
Ness,
show, or
man.
the movie?
The show, the TV show, Elliot Ness. The original one with Robert Stack. Okay, I catch that sometimes late at night to replay it. That character is also like this driven character, like to compulsion, right? Yet he's got a total different feel than the way Matthew McConaughey played his.
McConaughey didn't really have a whole lot else going on in his life. His life was pretty shitty, other than his job. I mean, his personal life sucked.
Yeah.
But Will, compare him to Robert Stack's character in the Touch.
You can't compare that.
Robert Stack didn't have a debt. Matthew McConaughey had nothing to live for. He was in a void of emptiness because he lost his family completely, and he just felt it was like, should I die? Should I cease to exist? Or should I pay this debt? And in paying that debt, he embraces death. He almost dies. He touches hands with his daughter in the void and comes back. And he actually has a spiritual awakening in the last 20 minutes of the last episode, which...
Are we going to talk about
I
that?
thought was kind of nice.
Mike, go ahead.
Sure.
Are we going to discuss the ending? Go
ahead.
The ending is the one... I'm curious what you guys thought about the ending, because it was, to me, it was a little silly.
Really?
When he actually goes through the end where he touches, like Wilk, what you just said, where he actually touches his daughter again or whatever. I kind of liked it. I still don't really know what to make of it though. I feel like it departed very far from the story, which is probably a good thing, but
don't you think it gets to the essence of his character and it sort of brings resolution to him? He's able to
That's what I got.
grow as a person. I mean, like, early on he had a daughter who died. He doesn't like to talk about it. Clearly it's an issue though.
Okay. I get
right?
that, but I guess my question is, do you buy that would happen with his character? Like, or does that just seem like a way they wrapped it up nicely and convenient?
Well, Mike, let me tell you a story. When I was a freshman in college and some jackass covered my door in pop cans that he'd been saving for 3 months, I didn't think it would turn into a lifelong friendship with Ryan and George. But it did. And in True Detective, I didn't think the story was about Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey becoming lifelong friends, but it was, more or less. And that's kind of where it ends. Yeah. When you put away all the nonsense about their wives and their job and everything else, it ends with two guys that are bonded for the rest of their lives. And really, it's not so much about solving a crime or doing this. I think it's a story about two men, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. And really, Matthew McConaughey and both of them kind of go on a little bit of a journey where they fight, they heal, and they resolve. And ultimately, I mean, it had to end, the show. I mean, and I think the crime story was more incidental than to Matthew McConaughey lying in that bed and talking to Woody Harrelson. And at the end of the day, they have each other, and that's it.
It's a classic cop buddy comedy film.
Buddy cop comedy. No, I enjoyed. I'm not saying I didn't like the ending. I think the end kind of surprised me. I guess that's a good thing, though. I mean, it did go in a direction I didn't think it was going to go in. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad thing, but
yeah.
Okay. Do you think it would have been better if one of them or both of them died at the end?
Well, according to the writer, he said that his original idea was to actually have them enter that maze towards the end, I think that was the final episode.
Yeah.
And disappear in the maze, never come out.
Really?
And he decided to make it a happy ending instead. I don't think he had a whole lot of pressure to make it a happy ending, but I think that was something he just concluded on his own. So, but
what would have been? Well, I mean, wow, what would it have been like if it ended like that?
Right. I mean, it would have been fitting with the rest of the tone of the show, probably, but not. I don't know. I don't know. I'm cool with the ending the way it is. I don't know.
I liked it. I mean,
it was a badass show.
Yeah, it just kind of. I don't know. I mean, a lot of times I feel like the conversations that those two had together mirror conversations I have at work every day with this guy named Eric, who I just drive nuts. And I don't know. It's just kind of funny. I can relate to Matthew McConaughey just tormenting some poor person with your weirdness. Maybe we all can. Do we all see ourselves as Matthew McConaughey? Are we supposed to? Or is anyone here Woody Harrelson? I mean, what do you think? When guys are watching the show, it's like when you watch... what's that show with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck? Good Will Hunting. No one's Ben Affleck. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm the misunderstood genius. I mean, when you're watching True Detective, are we all supposed to relate to Matthew McConaughey, or is that just me? I mean,
I'm just the jerk off that has no clue what's going on.
No, but
wow.
No, but do you want to be Matthew McConaughey when you watch the show? Do you kind of like him, or do you like the Woody Harrelson character? I'm just asking. I love the Matthew McConaughey character.
Let's do podcast Instapoll.
No, there's...
Answer the question, Ryan.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. Yeah.
Mike,
I feel like Woody
Mike,
Car-
you answered. Ryan, answer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Matthew McConaughey's kind of almost spiritual conviction and drive is very attractive. Woody Harrelson's character provides some balance and perspective to that.
Okay.
I'm drawn to, the drive and the perseverance of Matthew McConaughey's character.
So which did you like better?
What?
Or which did you relate to a little bit more?
Like I just said, I was probably more drawn to McConaughey's character. Like
McConaughey's,
Yeah.
same here.
Nah, you're Woody. You're Woody, Ryan.
You're totally Woody.
You're
all
like
Woody.
Ross from Friends, Ryan. Rick, you're Chandler. You son of a bitch.
Mike, you're Joey.
Oh,
Hey.
wait! I just got a text from Dave Allen, our podcast number one fan. He says you guys should do a podcast on John Wick.
who is that?
John Wick. It is a Keanu Reeves action movie that's on HBO right now.
Making a sequel.
Yeah. Okay. So
Shout out to Dave Allen.
Whoa.
Dave Allen.
All right. I mean, does anyone else have anything to add about the show?
And
Or let's do. All right, Lynn. Why don't we all just go around and say, give our star rating? I'd say I give the book 3 stars, the TV series 5 stars. Rick, what about you?
I agree with you, Ryan. 3 stars, 3.5 stars for the book, or for the stories, and 5 stars for the series. Really enjoyed the series.
Mike?
I would say for the book, 2.5 stars. I would give the series. What would we do? 5. We do 5 star. You said
Yeah, out of 5.
4.5 stars.
Okay.
I would say.
Wilk, what about you?
5 bags of popcorn all around. No, the TV series is probably the best TV series I've seen in a long time. It's perfect in my opinion. It's 5 stars, 4.9. The only thing I like better is Breaking Bad in the last 20 years. The book, lowest rating for a book I've read on the podcast, I'd go 2 stars, maybe 1.5.
Okay.
Just, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone to read. I don't think there's a lot to get out of it.
I would recommend it for anyone who's interested in weird fiction and wants to go back and just kind of see an early progenitor of
Wow.
it. If you have that interest.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't want to dissect your comment, but let's dissect your comment. I mean, like, really? I mean, would you recommend this book? I mean, like, there's so many better
To someone
things in that
interested in
genre.
that genre.
Yeah, but
Yeah, someone interested in that genre.
It's a bad example of that genre. It'd be like,
Well, no, if you read a lot in that genre and you want to go back and see an early, I think that there's qualities there that are worth checking out.
if I told you, okay, well, you like sci-fi,
whatever you're gonna
if you
say,
like
no.
sci-fi films, go check out Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone. It's a good example of a sci-fi film. Well, that's true, but it's terrible. This is a bad example of weird fiction. It's not that well written.
All right, now that that's done, anyone want to say any closing remarks about the book? I mean, you kind of said closing remarks already, but I'll just say, just worth checking. The TV show's phenomenal. I mean, does anyone else have anything to add or no?
It makes me want to drink a beer when I'm watching Matthew
Yes.
McConaughey. I mean, it was really hard to watch the show without having a couple drinks every time it was on.
I got the same thing
Right.
from my. That's probably a bad thing, but
No,
by the way, Ryan,
yeah.
don't the bars close at like 9:30?
No.
Because we gotta move.
Yeah, just watching McConaughey just keep sucking down cigarettes and beers, man, just made me want to join him.
Mhm. Lone Star.
All right, so before we close up, Mike, last time you were on the show, you were talking about ready to do filming for your short film. What is it called? In the Blink of an Eye.
A blink for dying.
Blink of an eye. Yeah, blink of an eye.
And since the last podcast, you've wrapped that up and it's all done. Where
Yeah.
are things at with that? Why don't you
It's
just
complete.
update us?
It's completely done. It's submitted to 11 film festivals as we speak. It got accepted to 3 online competitions, and it actually won a little merit award from one of them.
Nice.
Cool.
Recently.
Congratulations.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And co-starring Rick Mel's little son Ricky, who did a great job.
Little Ricky.
But I have information. It's posted on my Facebook page. If you can watch the movie on my Facebook page, but also you can,
Which nobody from the public can access.
well, yeah. But I have an IMDb page as well, so
How do people find you on IMDb?
I'm telling you right now. It will be Michael Taylor O'Reilly. I'm just in the process of changing it right now because there's too many Mike O'Reillys that have IMDb pages. So Michael Taylor O'Reilly is where you can find all my movie info on IMDb.
So, okay, that's great. And I know this movie is not it's not a sci-fi movie. Do you want to say anything about it?
No, it's a little suspense drama.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
I saw it. I'm related to you, so I'm a little biased, but I thought it was very well done. Proud of you. Rick's son also did a good job. I don't know, Ricky, you were there for the taping. I think
Yeah, he was good. You know.
Shit.
What do you want me to say?
I can't wait to watch this. Yeah, I'll share the link on my page when I get it. So
cool
for sure.
Excellent.
So now we'll go to my long-awaited big announcement, which I have not shared with all you guys. It's been a little while, but I don't know if I mentioned to you guys a while ago, but recently I found out that I've been accepted to Viable Paradise Writers Workshop, which is a workshop for science fiction, fantasy, speculative writers. It's held once a year. They only accept 24 people. It's held in the fall over in Martha's Vineyard. You have to submit a sample of your writing, and then they go through all these submissions, and they pick, only 24 people.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very
Congratulations, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm very happy and honored to do it. I've already kind of interacted with some of the people online, and there's people from there are other countries that are going to this and stuff, so I feel pretty lucky.
How many countries are represented?
So far, I've only seen 2, but not everyone. Oh. I don't know everyone who's a part of it. Only some of the people I've interacted with online or seen.
You know what's funny? That's awesome, dude. And I just
aside, just a little to give a little more info about it. It's taught by like industry professionals. So there's like other professionally published writers and editors and stuff who teach the class. It's like yeah.
It's validation. It's validation for you. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I feel very lucky. And my writing group, they've looked at my writing and helped me clean it up so I could submit it to this. So shout out to the Southland Scribes and especially Jeannie Meeks and Lydia Ponzak, who have been big supporters and helpers for me of my writing along the way. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And Ryan, just a quick little note. Would you write something that I can adapt into a story, into a movie, without having it be a $300 million budget?
You can use my head in the fridge story if you want.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm actually.
Maybe we'll come back to that. Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually working on a second story now that I want to give to Ryan. It's partially inspired by some experiences with him. But I got 2 comments I want to make about Martha's Vineyard. The first one you'll probably have to edit out, but I think you're very fortunate to go to Martha's Vineyard. And until only a few years ago, I didn't realize it was a location. I thought it was the term for, but it is an actual very nice place. And so that's the part I got to edit out. But what did you submit to them to have? What did they review? Was it anything that we've read, or was it?
You can only submit up to 8,000 words. So I think I submitted to them 1 chapter and like a synopsis I put together and a cover letter for this novel that I've been working on for a few years.
Oh, now. Excellent, dude. Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
that's gotta make you feel okay.
Yeah.
Ryan is actually a very, very. This is the nicest thing I'm going to say about you on.
Good
public,
thing I'm recording this.
No, but you've been working. You're a very dedicated. You believe in the word craft, but you've been working very hard on this novel for a long time. I know how meticulous you are, and it's got to feel very good and make you feel validated that someone recognized that and is honoring that and wants to help bring that to fruition. So
yeah,
good job, man. That's excellent.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
You should be very proud.
Yeah,
For once, I mean, this is by far the best that's ever happened to you. It's just to go downhill from here.
Probably. This is good.
Enjoy the moment.
I actually don't want to go on the trip because then after that I have nothing else to look forward to. The Hobbit movies are done. Lord of the Rings completed years ago. I think that's it. Thanks for the nice words, guys. I appreciate that. And with that, I'll say everyone should tune in next month when we review the book Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. And the film Naked Lunch was directed by David Cronenberg and starred Peter Weller, who I think he's the RoboCop actor, right? The original one. Mm-hmm. So that should be a good one. Wasn't Naked Lunch a banned book at some point? I guess we'll find out.
Yes.
So I'll invite everyone, as I always do, and beg and plead that someone will write a review on iTunes.
Thanks, Tom.
And check us out. We have a Facebook page.
It was good.
We're on Twitter. Our website is nodeodorant.com. You can catch the show on iTunes. You can catch it on TuneIn Radio. I think it's some other places, including YouTube. We're available in a lot of places. So with that, we will bid everyone adieu and goodbye.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
For more information on the topics discussed in this episode, or to read our show notes and find us on social media, visit nodeodorant.com. For more information on Ryan Sean O'Reilly and his various works of fiction, visit ryanseano'reilly.com. For more information on David Wilkinson, visit drycracker.com. For more information on Richard Mell, check out his profile at goodreads.com. The theme music for this podcast was written by John Doyle from the band I Decline. You can visit him at i-decline.com. Voiceover for this podcast was provided by me, Margaret O'Reilly. Well, that concludes our episode. We hope you've learned a lot. Again, thanks for listening to our show. And always, always remember, there is no deodorant in outer space.
Oh, I'm doing this 21-day fix thing. I know. I'm also playing Warcraft right now, so I can't stop the recording because I'm on a whole different screen. So, got that going for me here. Yes. I'm playing Hearthstone, yes.
In 5, in 4.
Wait a second, hold on a second. I gotta get Wikipedia out.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Rick, or Wilk, let's start with you.
Help me out here. I know you're going to edit this, but what opening remarks?
Opening remark, just to set up your comments.
This is like the worst opening remark. It's going to be a thrill a minute for an hour with the Yellow King. I don't know, Ryan. I like the show. I don't like the book. I can't do this. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can't think. What are opening remarks like? You do one. I'll do that for you. Yeah.
How do you guys think the new True Detective stacks up? Have you guys seen any of those
I
episodes
haven't
yet?
seen
Well,
it
hold
yet.
on. Before we get to that,
You guys got to answer my question. How do you guys think the new episodes
no,
stack up
hold
against
on.
the
No,
old?
let's not get into that.
Ryan, why do you keep cutting me off? This is the second fucking time.
Because I don't want to get into the second season on this show.
Why not?
Because we're not talking about it.
So why didn't you just tell me that the first time?
I thought you were going to get my hint.
What? just talk.
You're a
let him
fucking
talk.
idiot.
God.
You're
No,
such
hold
a
on.
pansy.
We got to finish up all the podcast stuff and we can talk about it.
Info on IMDb.
And while we're looking for your info on IMDb, can we look at the second season of True Detective, which we're not allowed to talk about in this podcast?
All right. Well, thanks.
He's
Will,
also on
honestly,
IMDb.
thanks.
Honestly.